You're listening to Generation AI
from LivePerson.
Hello, Generation AI listeners. It's your host, Joe Bradley. Before we get started, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button and leave us your rating. Hopefully it's a 5-star rating, but be honest, on your favorite podcast app, wherever you're hearing this. We'd love to get your feedback. Today, our guest is Andrea Dobrindt, a longtime leader at IBM who currently serves as the company's AI, ML, and Generative AI Automation Competency Lead. Andrea has a broad range of experience across the consulting and life sciences industry. And in her current role, she assists clients across healthcare, life sciences, state and local governments, and higher ed as well, as they all go on their digital transformation journeys. So a rich mix and tapestry of industries that we don't necessarily always talk about here. Without further ado, welcome to Generation AI, Andrea.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about my experience with your audience.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And I think, as I mentioned, you have a really interesting experience and you're working with a set of industries that is very important and I think going to be very sort of world changing as we go. But before getting too far into that, let's back up for a second. You've been with IBM for, I think, about 6 years. And you've been leading this AI automation competency. Before that, you spent 8 years in pharma at the intersection of AI and life sciences. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your career journey and how you kind of came into AI? When did it start playing a role in your life? And then when did you start to see how and believe, and what caused you to believe it was going to have a large-scale impact?
Yeah, of course. So my career journey began in academia, where I worked as a lab assistant focusing on pharmacokinetics and pathology at a pharmaceutical university. So during that time, I was exposed to vast amount of lab data, but I didn't know what to do with it. So that's when I realized the significance of data science. And because of that realization, I made a transition into a role of a clinical data scientist. And I worked at Pfizer, Novartis, Boehringer Ingelheim, and Eisai, focusing on analyzing clinical trials across different therapeutic areas, especially in the oncology space. And I think back in 2016, the emergence of AI caught my attention. And I wanted to equip myself with the skills for the future. So I pursued a degree in machine learning, deep learning, and artificial intelligence. So which ultimately landed me a job at IBM. And at that time, when I made the transition, I envisioned AI would make a huge scale, right? But it was not precise. And in the last few years, that's when I really start to see that it became more and more real. I got to see how the AI use cases are spanning across almost all organizations with the pharma industry, pharma companies, right? And even the startups. And there are many biotechs that are in the intersection of AI and the life science are emerging. It is indeed exciting times.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. And on a personal note, your journey into AI and mine are not too dissimilar. I came to it through the physical sciences and sort of data analysis that way. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see where you're coming from. You touched on this a little already, but if you wouldn't mind expanding, you've got, I think, this experience with the pharma industry and now this vantage point on it. How has that influenced your thinking, and what do you see happening in the world there that we should be excited about and interested in?
So I would say my experience in pharma industry really helped me realize two things in terms of the building the AI automation solutions. So one is we need to start with the business problems, right? When developing AI automation projects, the end goal is always about the business problem and about the end user. It's not about the technology for the sake of the technology, but rather using technology as the ways to solve the problem that can benefit the end user. So that means we might not use the fanciest technology right now if it doesn't solve the business problem.
And I think that's ubiquitous. I think that's an area where a lot of companies right now are actually at risk of going wrong when they use this technology because they're thinking about it as a technology capability building exercise, which it is an extension of what they've got to do. But to your point, it's not the center of what they've got to do. The center of what they've got to
Right.
do is solve a problem for their customers, use this to make their business work better in some way. And focusing on that approach to me makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So the other thing my experience in pharma industry helped me realize was is related to AI talent development, right? So
Mm,
even though AI is the big thing and driving significant changes, however, the domain expertise is so crucial.
mm.
Making sure that our people they have both AI knowledge and the domain expertise, so that will really help navigate the complex industry problems more effectively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a really important point, particularly within pharma. I think you see it in a business context as well. I want to come back to that in just a minute. But before we do, let's keep on this thread of, a little bit of pharma in particular, and maybe expand here. So I know you regularly attend pharma conferences, and I'm certain that not everyone that you talk to at those conferences is an AI expert. Uh, what do you do to, open the lines of communication with folks like this? How do you tailor your message to really land with people who are not AI technical experts, but maybe experts in some other field or maybe business folks as well?
I would say two things based on my personal experience. One is definitely simplify the technical concept, right? So we
Hmm.
can break down the complex AI concept into easily understandable language, and definitely we want to avoid the jargon and or technical terms. Maybe not all of them, but maybe some of them or most of them. The second is, I would say, is to focus on the practical application. Instead of talking about the technical details, um,
Mm.
we can talk about the business problem, right? And the benefit of using AI, and talk about how AI can improve efficiency or accuracy or improve the decision making, right? And using the domain specific terms that would really help the domain expert from the industry resonate.
I think that makes total sense. And I love what you said about, really not being too dependent on jargon. I think it's so easy for us to get there. And sometimes if you can limit down a conversation to one piece of jargon and explaining why it's important to a non-technical person or someone who doesn't have your background, it's a great way to bring them into the discussion. But as soon as you get like more than one or two, you can sort of lose people. So I think that makes total sense, along
Yeah,
with your focus on the real problem.
right. Yeah, definitely.
I guess another question I have for you,
Hmm.
in general, business leaders, I think a lot of folks feel like they're facing this kind of chicken and egg problem with data and AI. Do I
Hmm.
need to have the right data first, or can I start with AI? You know, what do you think is necessary in terms of what steps should they take to ensure that they have the data they need to build on top of with the latest in AI technology?
Hmm. So I think data and AI, it is indeed a difficult decision that business is facing. Um, I would say a common mistake I see is that people think we need the data to do the AI. So data is the foundation, right? So definitely data first.
Hmm.
But then you start with data, you take care of the data, you centralize it, standardize it, and after that, you want to figure out how to build AI on top of it. But at this point, you might realize that, oh, it's not right data.
Mm.
But you've gone too far. It's been several months. And what are you going to do? Redo the data? Too late,
Yeah.
right? So at this point, people might try to forcefully fit the data into AI. And most of the time, this kind of project will fail.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So based on my experience, I would say it's better to do both data and AI together.
yeah.
It's harder. It's more difficult. Takes longer, slower, right? But I think it's a way to ensure that data and the AI are aligned.
Yeah, I like that point a lot. And a lot of times I think about it like you've got to, just backing up to your business problem
Hmm.
point of view as well. Like you've got a business problem you want to solve, as much as you can shave that down to a solvable use case, and then pair that with the data that you need and the AI capabilities you want to put kind of on top of that, and get that whole thing working end to end, right? That's a nice recipe for success.
Yeah, totally agree. The other important aspect I think is to make sure the teams working on data and AI they are integrated, right, rather
Mm.
than operating in silos. So then this kind of a collaborative approach will increase the chance of success.
Yeah, almost a technical product kind of mentality there, that
Hmm.
everyone's responsible for solving the problem, and that's going to take some coupling not only between the systems but between the people for everything to work right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I've seen that failure mode too at companies where, I've been helping through live person at companies I've worked at before, when there's too much separation and too much dependency
Hmm.
on documents and text rather than like people to people connections. So I think it's a great point.
Yeah, yeah,
Speaking of
happens
people,
all the time.
your team also helps upskill thousands of people at IBM, and helping them get AI competencies. What have you learned as you've done that, and what would you share about that to leaders who want to do that in their own organizations?
I would say first is the collaborative effort that
Mm,
involves the various stakeholders, right? So we are talking about upscaling thousands of people. It will include business leaders, technical thought leaders, and the human resources, and learning and the development team as well. So everyone, they are playing important roles here. So business leaders drive the awareness, they help to promote, right, and communicate the importance of upskilling. And the technical leaders, they shape the curriculum and the course content. Um, and then learning and the development team, they are responsible for designing the curriculums and set up a learning plan. And last but not least, the HR help align this training with the practitioners' performance metrics. So it's a really collaborative effort. That's the first thing I would say. And second, I would say it's very important to realize upscaling is not a one-time effort,
mm,
especially in the field of AI, generative AI, right? It's
mm.
evolving so quickly. So we had a large language model. We keep having more large language models and different framework, long chain, right? RAG. Now we have a multi-agent. And now we are seeing more and more vision language models. So there's always something new coming up every month, if it's not every week. Right? So that's why continuous learning and staying on top of it is very important to keep pace with this advancement.
Yeah, and an interesting application for AI itself, right? And it's certainly one that
Hmm.
I've used when I've wanted to learn, broad new fields, uh, and and when I have questions when I'm not sure where to start, it's becoming more and more true for me that I'll start with one of the AI tools to create an orientation and a foundation to learn from. I'm not sure about you, about people, because I think there's a lot that our audience is probably curious about. Um,
Hmm.
I think a lot of folks are trying to hire in AI now, and I think what hiring in AI means is changing really rapidly in the same way that technology is changing. And there is kind of a talent war erupting in terms of folks that are, skilled with this technology and have proven track records of building it or using it well. What do
Hmm.
you recommend in terms of retaining talent like that, or growing more junior folks into talent like that?
So hiring and retaining, I start with that. And
Uh huh.
I think first I would say if you wanted the top talent, right, then you should not be afraid of hiring people who are smarter than you.
Mm,
Um, So Steve Jobs has a wise words. It doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people to tell us what to do, right? I really strongly believe in that, and I think if we want to retain them seriously about it, we want to empower them, right? Give them the opportunity to shape decisions rather than dictating the tasks to them. So that's one. And the second is, I think AI talent is like any other talent. And the building meaningful relationship is the key if we want to retain them, right? We need to take time to connect with them at a personal level and understand their aspirations, their goals, what's important to them, and really take time to take care of them, to take action, to make things happen for them, right? So they know we care, and that they are valued as individuals, not just a number in the organization.
Makes sense, and that they have a career path and a growth trajectory that makes sense for them, that they'll continue. Usually folks like that want to learn and want to accomplish new things, so being able to have that as well.
Yeah, the other thing I see a lot is some teams, organizations, they keep the technical talent behind the scene, right? It's keep them in the basement. I would say if you want to keep the top talent, you want to bring them to the business, so they get to see the impact they are making. I think this is a way to keep them engaged and motivated.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. I think there's a special kind of value to someone who is technically skilled at a high level and interested in the impact that that technical skill is having, and wanting to learn about the business, wanting to learn about where their work is going. To me, those are people that are very special because they can see across a lot of things at once. And yeah, I think you're right. To keep someone like that satisfied, they've got to see, you know, how it all comes together, and hopefully shape how it all comes together in time.
Yeah, I agree. That's a group of people. Maybe the other group they like to stay in the back.
Yeah, though there could be that too. That's a good point. There could be
Right.
people that want to stay in the back, and lots of value there too, as long as you can have a way to keep them, you know, keep all the machine running in the right, you know, alignment. But then you really need those folks that want to stick their heads out in order to make that alignment work.
Yeah. It all comes down to what are their aspirations, and then we
Right.
make it happen. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Back to your first point. I think a really good one. All right. Last question for you, if you don't mind. I know you are also a passionate advocate for women in technology, which I respect very deeply and feel is very important. Um, as a mentor in this regard, what advice do you have for underrepresented groups in general looking to make it in your field?
Absolutely. I love this question. This is a topic I'm always passionate about. I represented that group myself. First, I would say it's very important for women or underrepresented groups to realize they don't have to navigate the workplace challenges alone. Building alliances, right, with others who share similar identities, this will help. And we also have men allies, right, leveraging support from them. And so that's one. The second, I would say, if you experience bias or something unfair, speak up and challenge it, right? It's our responsibility. We can only do this together. By doing this together, we can rise together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a very scary prospect in, you know, in any workplace. In the modern workplace is not, you know, no exception. And so you know, I feel for someone in that position where they have to, but I totally agree. That's the kind of action you really want to support as a company, and you want to make sure it's happening.
Right. Yeah. Leadership need to educate themselves. Okay. Realize the importance of doing that, and
Yeah.
take action to cultivate a culture
I think the case for that as, not only the right thing to do, which of course should be a good enough reason, but also is it can be valuable to make the business case for that as well. So people see that when you have an open community, you get better talent, you get better communication, and you get better outcomes than when you don't. I think there's a growing body of literature that supports this, and certainly something that it's a perspective that if you're interviewing managers who are or are not from underrepresented groups, always a good one to see, where people fall on understanding the business value of culture in that way.
Right. Yeah, agree. And I have one more point to add.
Yeah,
right. So I would say the last one is believing in yourself and work on developing yourself, right? Building a strong reputation, your brand, right? And show the world what you are capable of. So once you have a strong reputation, I think the stereotype becomes less and less relevant.
Fantastic points. Agree. Okay, well, that said, we are going to move on now to our favorite segment, which I like this season much better than our favorite segment from last year. I'm not going to lie. The AI songs were fun, but I like Hype It or Hate It better. So here we go with Hype It or Hate It. For those of you who don't know, our producer is going to put 60 seconds on the clock for each of us to rant. Not together, Andrea, don't worry, but separately. I'll go first, and then you go after me. The rules are this. It can be positive or negative about something in the world of AI or business, but you only have 60 seconds to explain what you're heated about or loving this week. How's that sound?
That sounds challenging, but I'm up for it.
Let's give it a shot. So far, nobody's died as a result of Hype It or Hate It, so I think we'll be all right. Don't worry, but I'll try and I'll take it first, and you can see where we go from there. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so yes, Joe, you are up first. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. I will let you know when you have 30 seconds left. I will then let you know when you have 10 seconds left, and then a buzzer will sound when your time is up. And then, Andrea, you will have a chance to weigh in on Joe's topic. So, Joe, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock, and your time starts now.
Okay, I think the last one of these I hyped, so I'm going to go back to hate, but I'm trying not to overhate. But I think this one makes sense. What I'm struggling with right now is, I feel like we're a year and a half into this sort of like blossoming of generative AI, and the chat-based applications are coming along really nicely, and some of the imagery generation stuff's coming along okay. Like there's like a lot to recommend what's happening, but what's not happening yet, and I feel like should be, is the ability for it to impact our real workflows, in our daily life. The applications that we've got literally, on a computer, on the web, they haven't yet gotten to the point where, where the interstitial, the annoying aspects of my life, moving windows around, like finding the right, document somewhere on my computer or in my G drive or whatever it is, have all gotten like radically easier. And I think they should. All right.
Okay.
Andrea, any response?
Yeah, I'm digesting what you just talked about. Yeah, I think I agree with that, right? It's like how can we use that to benefit us at a personal level? We have not gotten there yet.
Yeah, I'm still doing way too much clicking and digging around and manual stuff and remembering what to put in which document where. And, if I want to go learn about pharmaceutical industry, I can go talk to AI for that. But if I want to manage my day, it's not helping that much yet.
Right.
Okay. So are you ready to do yours?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, great. John, take it away.
All right, so same deal, Andrea. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. I will let you know when you have 30 seconds left, and then 10 seconds, and then a buzzer will sound when you are done, and Joe will have a chance to weigh in on your topic. So 30 or 60 seconds on the clock, and if you're ready, your time will start now.
Okay, so I will say something I'm excited to see, right? So what's happening in the life science industry is that AI is really happening. I can give an example of, let's say, clinical trial process optimization, right? This is like the red meat in that industry, and having efficient clinical trial operational process is challenging, and it's been challenging for decades. Is the industry-wise challenge, right? Right now, the capability of AI and generative AI is really able to help identify those risks and the risks and I'm sorry, I'm stumbled. To help identify the risks and make better predictions on clinical trial performance, and provide the insights into what happened, and give a recommendation on how can we make it better. So that's gonna significantly improve the operational efficiency.
It's tricky with the clock.
Right.
It's tricky with the clock, but I thought your points were great, and I'm 100% aligned with you, and in fact just generally fascinated with how this year is going to look with respect to life sciences and AI, or starting to look. I keep meeting people around. I just met someone on a plane a few weeks ago who was in one of these, startup pharma companies, and using deep learning and large language models and related technology in unique and interesting ways. So I feel like this is not only like a story that's just starting to get told, but it's also a story that's going to be so important to our lives and our health in a way that like it's just way beyond what we think of AI impacting meaningfully today. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm truly excited, and I'm very happy to see what's happening right now. So when I made the transition from a farmer into AI, so I had that in mind. One day I want to do something at the intersection, right? So when I got the degree in AI, but farmer industry wasn't ready. So compared to other sectors, let's say life finance, so they were a bit slow in terms of their AI applications. But now, last year, when generative AI happened, pharma company is really pick it up, and they are from some very large pharma companies that we see, like a global leading pharma companies, right? They are really ready to do this, and they have a funding, and they want to stay on top of it. So that's great to see. And to the other point you made is related to human health, right?
Yeah. The outcomes there can be so astounding. Well, we'll have to cut it there, just because we're out of time. But that's a fascinating place to end on. So very glad to get there. Andrea, I want to say thanks again for joining us today. It was exciting to talk with you, and very much appreciated it.
Yeah, and thank you for having me.
All right, and to our listeners out there, thanks for sticking with us here, and please don't forget to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give us the rating of your choice, which it's totally fine if it's 5 stars, wherever you catch us. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Generation AI,
Automating Better Business,
a show from LivePerson.
Never miss an episode by subscribing to the show in your favorite podcast player. Please give us a rating, leave a comment, and share the episodes you love. Until next time.